Are you cooking your food in toxins? Hi, I'm Bernice Hunt, and I am a brain health specialist. I work with women just like you who are starting to notice a few memory challenges, and I help you to stay sharp so that as you age, you can still travel, have fun with your grandkids, and experience new adventures without missing a beat. As a wellness coach for over 12 years, I talk a lot about toxins, because some of them are just out of our control. But that doesn't mean that you should just give up and just settle, just throw in the towel. Your body can handle a lot of things, a lot more than you ever imagined. But you need to be on its side, doing all that you can. Not just being a looky-loo waiting around for it to happen. You need to try to lighten that load. Help a sister out. That's what you should be doing. Did you catch my last video? I did a video a few days ago on toxins and on cooking oils, specifically refined oils. So if you didn't catch it, it's a short little video. It's on my YouTube channel. It's also on my Facebook page. So catch that about reducing toxins or about cooking oils. But today I wanted to talk more specifically, deeper in detail about refined oils and what other healthy alternatives you can have. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today, because unfortunately, refined oils are the oil of choice for many, many, many of us because they cost less, they have a longer shelf life, they have longevity. When you get them home, they last for a long, long time. And we are very, very familiar with a lot of the brands, either because we've seen all the commercials or because our mother used them. That's what we grew up with. And so that's naturally how we learn to cook our food and what we go to use, But sometimes we don't stop to think of how it might be affecting us. And we didn't realize how it was affecting us for a while, but now we do know exactly what's going on with those refined oils. And we're about to change all of that. Hopefully you're going to be right along with me, making some changes in your life regarding what oils you cook with. Okay, so what are refined oils? Okay, well, their definition of refining is eliminating undesirables and toxic substances. Okay, and we're talking about food here, oils here. My question is, what are the undesirables, or how did they get in there, and why are there toxic substances in there? What's going on? Good question. The answer is the way it's been processed. Okay? Now, if you think about it, just think about it. You're talking about different nuts and seeds. Corn, a corn kernel becomes corn oil. If you took that corn kernel, it's going to take a while for you to get some oil out of there. I don't even see how that happens. So if you think about it, you're like, how does that happen? It happens because of the way they do it, okay? The processing. Okay, so let me tell you what's going on. First, they take the seed or the nut, whatever it is they're using, and they ground it up. Okay, that makes sense. Make it smaller in little pieces and ground it all up. Then, for the refined oils, they soak it in chemicals. They soak it in chemicals. It's like you have the nuts having like a meltdown, it's leaching and draining out. You can feel those horror movies when the person gets in that acid water and they just start dissolving or whatever. That's the picture that I get. They're soaking it in chemicals. That in itself is oxidizing it and giving it some problems right off the get. Okay, so they soak it in chemicals, but that's not all they do. Then they heat it up. When I say heat, I mean heat. High temperatures, heat it up. And in the heating of those oils, what's happening? It's turning rancid. We talked about how we don't want our oils to become rancid, and we don't want to, any rancidity and acidity and all of that kind of stuff. Guess what? Those refined oils were already made rancid before they even finished the processing. They heated it up so high and it destroys the nutrients. So there you go. All that heat, because those are things that destroy your nutrients. The air, the heat. Yeah. and the light destroys nutrients. So they heat it up real high and it's destroying your nutrients and turning it rancid right off the bat. Okay, then they're not through yet. Then they have to call what they call degumming and de-waxing, because you can imagine how gooky it is, right? Doesn't take too much to visualize how gooky it must be. So they have to go through and degum, de-wax, try to get all that gook out of it. Then they have to wash it. This is your food, guys. We're talking about stuff that you physically put in your mouth. Okay, you have to wash it, and then they're still not through. They are still not through with it, because then they have to bleach it. All that cooking and heating and whatever has turned it in acid, has turned it this nasty color that you would never put in your mouth or pour on your food. So they have to bleach it and dye it a nice, neutral, nice color that you may be, agreeable with to cook with, or to pour on your food, or to put in your food. It has to be a nice color. You're not going to just, eat some nasty looking thing. So they make it a nice color. They bleach it and dye it. But they still not through yet. They are still not, because then they do something called hydrogenizing. We've heard that word, hydrogenated oils. That's when they shoot it with hydrogen, because they wanted to have a long shelf life and they wanted to turn into a solid, okay, for in terms of margarine and butters and stuff. But they wanted to have a long shelf life, so they hydrogenize it. And when they do that, they've just created trans fats. So now you have some rancid oil that's full of trans fats, no nutrition left in it, okay? But they're not through yet. Then they gotta deodorize it. When I heard deodorize, I don't know about you. I don't want to put nothing in my mouth that has been deodorized. It smells so bad. They have to get rid of the odor, because you would not put that nasty smelling stuff on your food, let alone in your mouth. So they made me think of Febreze. All they do Febreze, you got the stinky couch, and they spray all on top of the stinky couch. You still got the stinky mess in the couch, but they spray all over so you don't smell it no more. Okay, so they deodorize it. Now, that is what we are using when we are using refined oil. So guess what? They all look alike. They're all about the same price or whatever, because they all look alike, because guess what? They all went through that same process. So it really don't matter which one you get. If it's a refined oil, that's what's been done to that. And you can assume that if it does not say that it's not refined, if it does not say unrefined, it's refined. Okay? Trust me. That's a marketing label to say unrefined. So if it's unrefined, they're going to let you know about it. So if they don't let you know about it, you can just go ahead and know that that's a refined oil. So you need to read those labels, because there's certain oils that can be refined or unrefined. There's two versions of them, and you have to know what you're buying. Okay, so that is the refined oils. And so how does that affect your brain? The thought of it's nasty enough to me. And plus, before I talk about your brain, it's in so many things. Restaurants, that's the kind of oil they're using, y'all. That's what they're cooking your food in. That's what they're frying your food up in, okay? Deodorized poison. Okay, and processed products. They say even like, what are they saying? 95% of store-bought cookies have trans fats, because they're made with hydrogenated oils. And as soon as you say hydrogenated, you saying trans fat, okay? 95% of the cookies, think about making your own cookies. Go old school. Do that homemade stuff. 100% of crackers, 100% of crackers, processed, the ones you buy in the store, are going to have trans fats. They have a hydrogenized oil in it. And they said like 80% of your frozen breakfast foods, they have all these frozen pancake, waffles, whatever the thing is, trans fats. So you really need to think about that, because even though a lot of some people say, you don't have to worry about it because it's so minute, it's small amounts, it's not going to hurt you. Just like a whole lot of other things, we're talking cumulative. We're talking adding up over time. And you can just look around you to see something's affecting all these people, And that is in so much of the things that we buy, not to mention the things we ourselves cook with, okay? And how does it affect your brain? Okay, with trans fats, one of the major things is damaging your blood vessels. Did somebody say heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure? You know, damaging your blood vessels. Your brain has over 400 miles of blood vessels in it. So if it's damaging blood vessels, it's damaging things in your brain. And over time, and we're ingesting, we're eating this all the time in almost everything without even a thought, cooking with it all the time, going to restaurants all the time, okay? So why are we having all these issues? Vascular dementia is number 2 in terms of forms of dementia, right behind Alzheimer's, and that is damaged, restricted blood vessels. Stroke, okay? So damaged blood vessels, and a lot of that happens, but that's not it. We're talking about pro-inflammatory. We're talking, and you know, anything inflammatory, you get that chronic inflammation going, it's going to be affecting everything in your body, right? We're also talking about your omegas, because there's a high amount of omega-6s in those kind of oils. So this off the omega-3, omega-6 balance is way thrown off, which is adding to what you already have that's thrown off, okay? And that's affecting your gut health. And what's affecting your gut health is affecting your brain as well, okay? So it's affecting that way too. And also it says it worsens your insulin response. And guess what? Alzheimer's is also called type 3 diabetes. So you see how this is all connected, how the wrong oils that you're using, especially that you're cooking with, if you're cooking with refined oils, it is affecting your brain, not instantaneously, over time. A lot of people chalk it up to old age or to genes or whatever, when it may have a lot to do with how you're eating. And how you're cooking your food is one way that you can reduce that toxic load. Okay, so are there other things you can cook with? Yes, yay, that would be a yes. There's other things. So you're looking, instead of looking at refined oils, you're looking at using unrefined oils. You can break that down, which would mean, of course, not refined. Now, unrefined oils are processed, okay? They have steps that they go through, but it doesn't involve creating toxic compounds, okay? So how do they get the oil out of their nuts and seeds if we're talking unrefined? They use a press, a squeezing out, okay? It's called expeller or cold press. Okay, expeller, where they have a mechanical machine that squeezes out the oils, okay? Now, in doing this, there is some heat created naturally from the friction that comes when you're squeezing stuff, okay? If you get your hand, you start squeezing your hand together, you can feel the heat that's coming in my hand just from pressing. And so there is going to be some heat created. That's called expeller a treatment that they process that they do. And heat is created. So there are going to be some nutrients that are lost, but nowhere near what's going on with refined. And they're not adding any chemicals. They're not adding creating any trans fats. They're not making your oil rancid, okay? So that is a much better choice. A little more expensive, because guess what? It's a different process. It's a more expensive process, which is one way they throw the chemicals on there because it's cheaper. So it's going to be a little more expensive, but so much better for your brain. Now, the difference between the expeller and the cold press. The cold press is the same process, except they monitor the heat. Like I said, when you're going to get the natural heat, the friction that's coming from squeezing something so tight and everything, they don't let the heat get over 120 degrees. Okay, so they monitor. So, of course, that's going to make it more expensive because they're monitoring it. Some, machinery or people or whoever. So that's going to make it more expensive, but they have better control. So if it's cold press, you're going to lose even less nutrients because they're not going to let the temperature get up so high. They say in Europe, they don't let it get higher than 104. But here in America, they let it get 120, whatever. But both of those expeller and cold press are what you want to look for in your oils. Okay, because it doesn't have the rancidity, it doesn't have the trans fat, doesn't have the extra toxic solutions in there. It hasn't been deodorized. Okay, so that's what you want to look for. But it can even get better than that. There's another process where they do unrefined and unprocessed. It's called filtered oils. Okay, where they don't keep straining it or whatever. They just do a light filtering of the larger particles that are coming in after they press it or whatever. Just lightly filter it, and they leave a lot of the other things in there. So you're going to get a lot. It's going to look cloudier of its own color. It's going to be more potent flavor because they've left a lot of the stuff in there. They didn't keep filtering it out, and it goes bad quicker because it has a lot of the things still in there, okay? So it doesn't last as long and it's more expensive. But those are some things you can look for. And the last one I want to tell you about, which some people may think is controversial, but it is butter. And better yet, not just butter. I mean, organic butter. Okay, you can do organic butter, but you can use something that's called ghee, or you can make something that's called ghee, okay? And what that is clarified butter, or really actually what it is butter oil. All these other things we've talked about are from nut oils, seed oils. This is butter oil, because what you do, you take the butter, the either salted or unsalted. Hopefully it's going to be organic, but but I recommend organic. And you're going to simmer that, boil that, get that hot, and you're going to remove the whey. It's going to come to the top. You're going to scrape that off, but you're going to cook it and let the milk solids sink to the bottom. Okay, so you're removing the things that make people lactose intolerant, and the casein and stuff. You're removing that out of it, and you're just leaving the oil. And the beauty of that is, number one, people that are lactose intolerant, a lot of them can use the ghee, and the temperature, the smoke point of ghee is a lot higher than butter. If butter gets too hot, it burns, right? That's the milk solid in it burning. But the ghee goes another 100, 150 more degrees higher than that without burning. So it's really good for frying and for sauteing, where you can use just your butter for the baking and the low temperature cooking type of thing. But yeah, so those are options that you can have that make it so you do not have to use refined oils. And I highly recommend that you try one or all of those things instead of settling for the refined oils. And also, you make an effort to monitor what people are giving you in restaurants, what you're buying in the stores, because they're feeding you, they're selling you actually poisoned food, toxic food, and you're eating it, And so we can reduce our toxic load. We can help our blood vessels, our brain, our insulin resistance, our omega-3s, our pro-inflammatory conditions. We can change that. We can bring change to that. And one way is to be aware and intentionally select your oils that are unrefined. Okay, so that's what I have. Now, if you want a list for, I have a list of best and worst oils, that I talked about them. I have a list of them. I'm happy to give that to you. Actually, you can go to my you can go to my website, keepyourbrainsharp.com, and you'll find a thing that says resource library, and you can get in there and you can gain access to all the little freebie things that I give out all the time, one of which on there is the best and worst cooking oil. So I hope you take this to heart, because your brain's destiny is in your hands.